Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. Well, today is the morning after the night before, and before was, of course, the debate, and it was a bloodbath. Very entertaining, not necessarily terribly illuminating. So we're going to offer our preliminary assessments as to winners, losers, and others. All right, Peter. So what were your immediate takeaways?
Well, neither candidate won and neither candidate lost. Okay, I think it was, in a sense, it was a draw because of how it was contextualized primarily from the right, and that is that Joe Biden had to survive, and the framing of that is going to haunt is haunting and will haunt the GOP, and interestingly enough, also Fox News, which you could see in the last few days. Others say it was weeks, but I would say days, is that they were quickly backtracking. I mean, Fox, about, how Joe was going to do. And Joe performed exactly as I expected. And what he did was he repeated platitudes and talking points ad nauseum that should have been expected. And Trump didn't do any preparation, as you and I said earlier, and he came off very poorly, I think. I think he had a lot of good points. It was his presentation. Biden was very smart. His handlers had him talk to the people, and every time he insulted Trump, he turned to Trump. The visual effect was quite powerful. What another thing that I took away is that Joe Biden was willing to peddle obvious falsehoods. The claim that the bounty hunters in Afghanistan, he repeated that. That has been completely debunked. He called Trump Putin's puppy. Russiagate has been completely debunked. We could go on and on. And of course, his reaction to when he wanted to mention his deceased son, Beau, and Trump heard son, and he went, "You mean Hunter?" And Biden acquitted himself very badly on that. I think Chris Wallace could have, intervened a little bit to let Trump explain that, because it's basically a blackout in the liberal media. Again, my last kind of main point here is that a lot of people are really hard on Chris Wallace. I think he did the best he could under the circumstances. I have hosted many debates in my life, and when you have two very contentious speakers, in this case candidates, it can be a rough job. It's a lot harder job than most people think. What were your takeaways, George?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that some of the attacks on Chris Wallace are maybe a little unfair. However, he didn't do a particularly good job. One can't really say that. He was
George,
masterful.
But maybe we should be fair. Do you think anyone could have done a good job? That's my point.
I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe one of those bores from the past, like Jim Lehrer, maybe he could have done better. It's hard to know. What is true, and what we were talking about the other day, is that he framed the issues in ways that work to the advantage of Biden and to the disadvantage of Trump. The way he framed the COVID issue was put Trump very much on the defensive, without really challenging Biden on the question of, well, what would you have done? I mean, in fact, Trump's point of that, hey, you were against any kind of a shutdown on visitors coming into the United States. You called me a racist and a xenophobe for doing it. Wallace didn't really go there. Wallace didn't, echo that point to Biden. Hey, well, what would you have done? Well, what was your plan? And the same arose on the question of, well, what's the plan now? Just shut down the economy? Is that it? That's your program? And how long are we going to shut this economy down? Until when? Until the virus disappears? Well, that ain't going to happen. So Wallace kind of framed the issues in ways that Democrats like, and didn't work to the advantage of Trump. And I think the same thing happened with what you were saying with the Hunter Biden thing, is that that should have been raised. That's a public issue. It's not. This isn't a question of, oh, hey, you're picking on my son. No, I mean, the issue is your son was making a ton of money while you were the Obama administration's point man on Ukraine. That's a serious issue, and yet Wallace just sort of dismissed it as being of no significance. And I think that you said Biden was allowed to get away with all sorts of assertions, like the one with Afghanistan, and of course the one that has really riled up the right with justice, which is that he made again the accusation. He said that there were fine people on both sides, referring to Nazis and the anti-Nazis. And again, Wallace just let that slide, even though it's a complete falsehood that has been debunked over and over again.
Yeah, yeah, but see, this is probably the broadest, biggest takeaway for me is how successful the mainstream media has been able to convince the electorate of these, these fantasy stories. I mean, made up stories, debunked stories. And
right.
There was an interview with Jeff Daniels, I think it was, on with Nicole Wallace. And, Jeff Daniels is a great actor. I like him, okay? But I felt pathetic for him is that he just repeated MSNBC talking points. And, I mean, almost like verbatim, it's, it's a Pavlovian reaction.
Right.
But you got that in the debate, too. And it shows you how these false narratives are so deeply embedded in the discourse right now. It is the basis of the discourse, okay? Right. And someone like Trump is very much at a disadvantage. Trump is a brute. He's a bit of a bully. He broke the rules all the time, which was irritating. I think he did himself a disservice by not letting Joe dig himself deeper. Okay, I mean he could have let that happen. Okay, right. It shows you how difficult it is in this media environment right now. But as I stated earlier, the way the approach to the debate is could Biden survive around with Trump? And you know what? He did. Okay.
He did. I think it was fairly.
He made tiny gaps all the way through. Tiny. Right. Okay.
Right. Yeah. No. He survived. But the interesting thing is that people come away with the impression, oh, Trump's a bully. Trump was getting tough, doing the tough guy thing. But all of the personal insults were coming from Biden.
It's true.
Biden called Trump a clown. I mean, he's the president. You don't call him.
He told him to shut up.
He told him to shut up. I mean, what kind of talk is that? It's like high school talk. Told him to shut up. Called him a racist. So I just wonder whether that kind of undermined Biden's sort of nice guy approach. To somehow he's the nice guy, the lovable, warm, fuzzy lunch bucket Joe Biden, as opposed to sort of Trump, the New York brute. And, maybe no one really even noticed. I mean, it was in that whole exchange. But I thought he came across as a very unpleasant character.
Well, the thing is also, I mean, whether you are conscious of it or not, the civility issue has disappeared right now. He's not Mr. Civility, okay? He proved that, okay? Right. Was it intentional? I don't know, okay? It's difficult.
Right.
But, I mean, the thing is that we learned almost nothing from either one of them. Again, one of my major laments is that it wasn't policy driven. It was very personally driven, circumstantially driven, hypothetically driven. And that's partly Chris Wallace's fault. I think that he could have been impressed both of them more. And yes, I don't want to be too hard on Chris Wallace, but I think obviously there was a lighter touch when it came to Biden. But at the same time, it's the dynamics of power here. And I keep saying this over and over again. Trump is president of the United States, and he is responsible. Going after blue states, blue governors, blue mayors, during a presidential election cycle, it's not a good idea to look for divisions. It's better to be more encompassing here. He could have said, I did my best to reach out. Our system it's built in this way. We have states' rights. I cannot force myself on them, but I have pleaded with them. It's part of the record. He could have done something like that to show, There was and is a way forward. But when you reach out the hand, someone has to grab it, and I think that would have been a fair argument to make.
Well, I think he had a reasonable issue with the law and order issue, because I think he was pointing out, hey, well, we have this violence, and that's an issue that's clearly an area of vulnerability for the Democrats. And you could say, look, where is the violence coming from? It's coming from the democratically run cities. And here again, Wallace did himself no favors by chiming in and saying, well, yeah, but there are also Republican cities where there's violence occurring. I mean, he had no business again chiming in with that point about, I think he made, was it Tulsa, Oklahoma? I can't remember. It was some city that he named. Again, he's doing the Candy Crowley thing, which is you're inserting yourself into the debate, which you shouldn't be doing. And again, he kind of caught Trump a little bit offside, because well, hey, I didn't know this about Tulsa, Oklahoma, so we need to take a look at it. So I think Wallace didn't do a particularly good job there. I think again, he's framed the issues in a way that didn't work for Trump, and he kind of jumped in at places where he shouldn't have jumped in. To be honest, I don't really see any particular problem about two candidates going at each other like that.
I think that it may be the best, and it would have probably been the Joe Rogan approach, is that I'm going to hit the start button and we're going to end in 13 minutes. Go.
That's right. Go. And then exactly. I mean, yes. I mean, there may come a point when they're just both just yelling at each other and nobody can hear anything. In which case, then you'd need a lighter touch from the chairman and saying, okay, well, look, he has now raised this issue, answer him, as he should have done in the case of the Hunter Biden, because Trump kept repeating the Hunter Biden, and then Wallace just simply didn't do anything. I mean, he should have said, hey, he has now raised this issue with Hunter Biden. How do you answer it?
But I think maybe the most important question that we have to ask each other and ask our viewers is, did anything change last night?
No, I don't think so. I think the people who are fans of Trump will come away and say, yep, Trump won, did a good job.
Social media.
Biden's fans say, yep, Biden did a great job. I think that's generally true about debates. I mean, it's like whoever side you're on, you're convinced that that's the person who won. So it's going to be hard to change anyone's mind.
I'm rather obsessed with media, and in looking at the reactions on social media, is for Trump supporters, and I think there's some truth to this, for Trump supporters, Chris Wallace as the moderator, it was truly representative of the liberal press. Okay, it was magnified again, and that's what really. See, when I look at these reactions here, the reaction is maybe not a devotion to Trump, but there's people so angry about the process. It's always one-sided. Okay, always one-sided. I mean, if Chris Wallace, he particularly with the issue of Hunter Biden, this is what happened in this campaign. And you and I have talked about it repeatedly, how MSNBC and CNN won't even talk about it. So it looks like a Fox News story. It looks like a conspiracy story when it's not. These are publicly known facts here. And we saw that in the debate. It was just like you're talking about flat Earth or something like that. This is ridiculous here. It's not ridiculous. There's a lot of facts to it.
Right. No, I think that's right. And I think that it just shows the extent to which somebody like Wallace, while he's picking up a nice paycheck from Rupert Murdoch, has absorbed so much of the liberal democratic talking points. I mean, it's just become second nature to him just to mouth off these.
Yeah, but to be fair, to what degree he's conscious of that, and I'm not going to disagree with you, but it is the foil against power, and I think in his mind he is being a proper foil to power. All right. The thing is that the thing is that Joe Biden, I am the Democratic Party. Remember, he said I'm the Democratic Party.
We're running out of time now, so. If you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. See you soon.